Right, it hasn't. Yeah, it started recording now, Councillor Higgs, so good to go.
Okay, thank you very much, Kay. So ladies and gentlemen, we'll make a start. I'm Councillor Adam Higgs, and I'm joined tonight by Kay Thomas, and joining us is Deborah Needle from Birmingham Trees for Life, Stuart Cross from Kier. Just to give the legal spiel, I am to advise that those participating and listening in this meeting that it will be recorded and then made available on the council's YouTube channel. Just in terms of a little bit of etiquette for this meeting, obviously, if any of you would like to speak, if you could just use the raise a hand function or the chat box if you wish to speak. Otherwise, if you're just watching, if you could just remain on mute just to avoid any feedback. And that's just it in terms of housekeeping. So we'll move on to the first item on the agenda. We were supposed to have a police update from the neighbourhood team. Unfortunately, no one has been able to make it and attend. However, they have said if anyone wants to raise anything in the meeting, myself and Kay will be happy to take some notes and obviously pass that on to the police. Does anyone have anything that they'd like to raise at all? Anyone at all? No, okay, everyone's fine. Okay, that's fair enough. It's unfortunate they can't make it, but hopefully they'll be here next time. And that brings us on to the next item on the agenda, which is for you, Deborah, Trees for Life. I've had a lot of people in my ward raise trees with me recently, partially because in Daisy Farm Park, a number of old and diseased trees have been cut down, which has, caused some concern. But obviously, there's an opportunity there for some new trees to go up, and I thought this would be a good opportunity to talk about the good work that you and Trees for Life do. So you have the floor, Deborah. If you'd like to just give us a little overview about Birmingham Trees for Life and what you do. If there's any projects coming up in the ward, I know that the trees officer has promised me in future that there will be some replacement trees to replace the ones lost in Daisy Farm Park.
Yes.
So if you could give us a little overview, and then we can open the floor to questions.
Yeah, that's lovely. Thank you, Councillor Higgs, for this opportunity to talk to everybody. And just to introduce myself, my name normally comes up as Deborah Needle. Everybody calls me Debbie normally. So, and I've been with Birmingham Trees for Life for 4 years. Or I've lost a little bit in the middle because I presume, like a lot of people, we actually didn't do any tree planting or not community tree planting through the COVID shutdown. So it threw us out a little bit because we didn't plant during that time. But the project has actually been, the Birmingham Trees for Life project has been running since 2006, and it's a joint project between the Birmingham Civic Society and Birmingham City Council. Birmingham City Council has the land that we plant trees on, and being part of Birmingham Civic Society means we have charitable status, which allows us to access funding. We have volunteers who come and help us every year plant the trees. We try to do the majority of the tree plantings with school children. So we always have a school at our tree plantings. We also have corporate tree planting. So if we can get corporate sponsorship, we have in the past, arranged a session where an organisation comes out and tree plants with us. We also have a relationship with the Woodland Trust, who provides young trees woodland whips for us, and we have been having around 9,000 of those a year to plant across Birmingham. Then we plant standard trees. We normally, in previous years, we've planted around 150 standard trees a year across 20 sites. And we normally plant a couple of orchards, community orchards, every year as well. And that's what we've been doing for the last probably 10 years. Before that, the model was a little bit different, but for the last 10 years, that's the sort of pattern that we've been doing. And we've always tried to make sure that we have at least one planting in every ward. Now, a lot of the plantings that we were doing were replacing missing tree stock or building up the tree stock in certain areas. But recently things have changed a little bit. We've become much more aware of climate change, so climate mitigation, environmental quality, including air quality. Something that has recently become apparent to us is what we call environmental justice or equity of tree planting. And I'll be planting trees in the right place in the city for the right reasons. We've got biodiversity loss, and we want to have nature recovery in the city as well. There's a lot of people wanting to plant trees this year, but things still aren't back to normal. So the Woodland Trust normally provide us woodland whips, and they're struggling to get the delivery of that because staff are off, isolating. So we're nearly back to normal, not quite. I think that's the kind of general overview of what we have done in the past and what we have been doing. The future is a little bit different because we are actually joining together with another charity in the city called Birmingham Tree People, who started as a network of tree wardens that was part of the Tree Council, another national organisation. And they do a lot more looking after trees. So we've always planted them in the past, and Birmingham Parks have done a brilliant job looking after them, but you're probably aware that with budget pressures across the country, not just in Birmingham, that parks departments don't have as many, the short version is don't have as many staff as they used to. So we look for volunteers now and train Birmingham Tree People, train those volunteers to be able to help look after the trees that we have in Birmingham. So it's a really nice partnership that we're going forward into. So I think that's probably, an overview of where we've been, and I think it might be better if I could open it up to questions.
Yes, that
rather
would
than
be
me
great.
carrying on talking, saying the wrong things, and you want to ask a question, so that'd be great.
Does anyone have any questions that they'd like to ask at all?
Hi, it's Sharon here, Highters Heath Lane. I haven't got a question. I just wanted to let you know I work for Deutsche Bank in Brindley Place.
Yes.
And we're doing our budgets at the moment, and we've certainly got some tree planting with you guys plugged into the budget for this year. So fingers crossed we'll be able to get out to you and do some work with you.
Yeah, and Deutsche Bank has been a fantastic sponsor.
Yeah.
And in the past, as I say, they're one of the corporate tree plantings that we have done in the past. And actually, I have got a picture of Deutsche Bank. Lots of pictures of Deutsche Bank staff coming out and tree planting with us.
It's very popular.
It's wonderful, and the interest when you come out to plant with us is fantastic as well. We get to have some wonderful conversations. And what's been really interesting is a lot of our sponsors, particularly Birmingham based sponsors, like to plant, as Deutsche Bank does, likes to plant with the children. They like that opportunity, and it also allows children not only to find out about tree planting, but also to think a little bit about the economy and how all that works as well. So it's really good experience for them. So yes, thank you for that. We really do appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments at all? No, that's fine, because I have a question that I'd like to ask. Debbie, could you possibly share any plans or the tree planting programs either in my ward or just on the sort of this corner of the city at all?
Well, this is about the time of year, so we haven't got any tree planting for Daisy Farm Park this year, because what we've had to do is carry over the tree plantings that we didn't manage to do. So they're all a bit bunched up at the moment, and so they're not spread equally across the city as we have done in the past. But that will continue to be the plan for the future. Daisy Farm Park is on the list for next planting season, and we can only plant trees in the winter and spring. So it always feels like when we can't get a tree planting in, it feels like a long time to wait sometimes. But we are putting the programme together of work, and we're starting to do that now for the next tree planting season. So you are definitely on the list, and we will go back to the original, model. However, some of the tree plants, so we want to make sure that tree planting is equal across the city. That's one of the things we've always wanted to do. But some of the tree planting will be focused in areas that have been identified through equity tree mapping, which identifies areas of the city where there is a real deficit of trees. So we've got kind of different programs running at the same time, and some of it will be around biodiversity. So where can we diversify the trees as well, the tree stock? So there's a lot more different reasons. We still want to make sure that we are community led, and we listen to everybody's requests, and those all go into the pot together. But there are so many things we think we have to think about now, as I say, climate change, trying to reduce carbon and reduce the effects of climate change, but also mitigate we already know that we are suffering the effects of climate change already. So where that is happening in the city and we're suffering flooding, sometimes it helps to tree plant in those areas. So there's a really complex method of trying to find the best places to put trees. But you are definitely on the, I know it sounds like next year, but you are definitely on the list for next year, especially Daisy Farm, because the tree officer has spoken to me and said, please make sure, because it is really difficult when we see trees being taken down, when we're told how important they are, but not, it's only done when it's really necessary to do it. And sometimes it's difficult to understand why trees come down, but we always want to put in tree planting that will eventually take the place of those mature trees, because we want to get to that canopy cover and have as many mature trees as possible. So please be reassured that although we're only just getting to it, you're definitely on the list, and Daisy Farm Park is one of the sites that will be planted next year. Because I've already promised the tree officer as well as you know.
Yeah, that's very reassuring to hear, because people love their trees, and as I say, my inbox was very quickly filling up with people when they see these beautiful trees being cut down. And of course, I totally understand the reasons why those particular trees had to be cut down. If they're not diseased, they're obviously a risk to property. Obviously, people don't want trees falling down on their houses because they're no longer stable. But of course, people will still want those trees replaced as soon as possible. So, as I say, that's very reassuring to hear. I'm more than happy to help volunteer, put some of them in myself. I don't suppose you know what sort of species you would generally use for the park, or what if you have a general species that you sort of use across the city at all?
No, it's very much, we have an expression that's right tree, right place. So it's very much around, again, a lot of factors come in. So historically what was on the site. So if the landscape is one that we want to maintain, we would look to plant the same or similar trees if we can. So when we've got avenues of trees in some parks, we would plant so that that avenue of trees is replicated in the future. Obviously, it takes a while for a younger tree to catch up with maturity, but in some parts we have a hawthorn hedge avenue, a hawthorn avenue, and those trees get really old and gnarly, so we'll replace that so it maintains the look of it. Some trees have large London plane trees in there, and again, they're very good at dealing with air pollution, very structural trees. And if we didn't try to maintain it, it would change the look of the park. However, one of the things that trees are facing is climate change and also pests and diseases that kind of go hand in hand with climate change. So in some areas, we might choose not to use trees. I mean, ash dieback, you're probably aware of that disease that's, causing trees to die. And before that, Dutch elm disease, long ago, you couldn't use the same trees. So we can't replace ash trees at the moment. So lots of different factors come in. Blossom trees, cherry trees and fruit trees are incredibly popular. When we consult about trees, people often mention the fact that they like to see cherry trees or fruit trees because of that spectacular display that they put on. Sometimes, the visual amenity of it, what the trees actually look like, is it really important to people? So we try to consider that as well. It's very much about doing exactly what that little phrase says and getting the right trees for the right place, and it could be any species across the city, really. Talking about trees, my dog's joining in with his bark, so there we go.
They're more than welcome to join the meeting. As I say, that's not a problem at all. Ken, you have your hand up. Do you want to ask a question?
Sorry, unmute. 2 questions if I can. Firstly, I understand why Daisy Farm Park's not been covered this year. Are there any areas sort of immediately surrounding the Highters Heath ward where planting is likely to take place? Because obviously people aren't restricted totally by the boundary of the ward. Second question, you mentioned countering the problem of flooding, which has happened occasionally in recent years, sadly, and I think climate change is exacerbating. I'm told, but I'm not an expert, that there are certain species of trees that are particularly good, I think it's willows they mentioned, are particularly good at sucking up the excess water when there is likely to be a problem. Do you try and sort of make certain that these kind of trees are used if there is a threat of flooding in a particular area?
Yeah, that's exactly what we do. So obviously, if we're going to have trees manage wet areas for us, it needs to be trees that are actually good at surviving in wet areas as well. Otherwise, they wouldn't grow. And alders and willows are 2 of the tree species that can cope with wetter areas. So we would always consider that. So what is the actual what's the habitat like already? And sometimes we will plant copses of trees. We plant single trees, so we plant ornamental trees, we plant small groups of trees, and we plant whole woodland areas. And obviously, if you plant a lot of whips in an area, it does change, or will over time really change the look of the park. But sometimes that's what's needed. Although we plant fairly densely when we plant woodlands, and that can actually take some of the excess water out of the soil as well. Not all of those trees will get to maturity, and the woodlands would be thinned out. So sometimes people see that we've put we'll sometimes say we've put 1,000 trees into an area, and say, oh, 1,000 trees, it's going to be this impenetrable forest. But actually, the idea is that you put 1,000 in, they don't all get to maturity, but while they're growing, obviously they're doing wonderful things, like they're capturing carbon, they're taking the moisture out of the soil, putting it back into the air. Of course, I mean, that's what they do with it. They suck it out of the ground, put it back in the air. But hopefully it relieves that is the flooding at that point in time. So yes, we do pick the trees for that reason. And if I could just, I have, what I haven't done is brought up the list of planting sites. We've had to move a few around, as I say, because we're having a problem getting the whips. So I don't know if you'd like to carry on, and actually I'll go and check which sites we have got now at the moment, which ones we can still carry on with, and I can always put them into the chat for you if that's okay, because I don't want to say we're going to do one that we're not actually going to be able to do.
That would be very helpful if you want to put them in the chat. Alternatively, I'm more than happy to bring you in again later if you want to come back again later. That's fine. Whichever.
Okay, thank you. I will just check to make sure, so I'll let you know where those are.
Okay, lovely. Well, if we move on to the next item, we can bring Debbie back in later. We now have the highways update, and Stuart from Kier has very kindly come. Again, I think you've come to every single one of my ward forums, Stuart. It's always much appreciated to have you. And I know residents do like to keep you on the spot. Is there any update you would like to give to the meeting at all?
Yes, good evening, Councillor. And as ever, thanks for the invitation. It's always good to come along to these things. Yes, obviously, I've been doing this for a couple of years now, previously under Amy. So here, been on a contract now for nearly 2 years. So yeah, we started in April 2020. So I would like to say, and I hope you agree, there's been a fair bit of investment on the network, not just in your ward, but within the city. So obviously, the main roads I would probably suggest in your ward that we have done the work on recently, obviously on Warstock Road. That was carried out last year, and I've had a lot of good reports about that. There's not a huge amount planned for a coming programme, as in big streams. I know recently we have done some work on Prince of Wales Lane. I think you made me aware that some issues down there, and that work's been done. So there's no big streams at the moment I can report on, unfortunately. However, there will be more streams announced within probably next 6 months' time for the next batch of programme of works, really. So I suppose the main thing I have to talk about now is really the general reporting of if people do have any issues, or obviously we can talk about it now if you want to, but if anyone does have any issues they want to report, it's pretty straightforward. It's birmingham.gov.uk. You can report any issues you might find on the website, and you have an inspector on site in that 3 or 4 days. So we've got quite a good turnaround at the moment. Obviously, I worked with Councillor Higgs on any issues he has, and we've been on various ward inspections throughout your ward, and that's done particularly well. So yeah, nothing major. Obviously, I thought I'd jump on the tree planting as well after a great presentation by Debbie. So obviously, Kier maintain the trees in the ward as well. Recently done a lot of work on Highters Heath Lane, on the trees down there. We also do the tree planting. So part of the contract is if a tree is removed, we then replant it within the next planting year. Not been too many removed on your ward in the last few months. So the only one I could find was a tree was being removed on Warstock Lane. So that's been planted again this spring. So yeah, no major streams at the moment, but however, we're continuing to do smaller jobs as they come in, really. So we also have been looking at Warstock Lane with Councillor Higgs about getting some work done down there on the overhang of the vegetation down there to try and get away from, I know there's issues down there with fly tipping. It has kind of ground to a halt, unfortunately, over the last few months. We did start to do some work down there. However, the work was cut back when we realised the amount of potential bats habitats were down there. So we're waiting for a bat report to be done before we can continue on that work. Because obviously, as I'm sure you guys know, that being a protected species, we've got to be careful working around bat routes, etc. So hopefully that'll be continuing later this year. So yep, that's it for me, really. Any questions, Councillor, or members of the public?
I was going to ask about the CCTV and just the latest on that, but I think you have provided literally the latest on that, and I know we'll be working to sort of push that forward over the coming months, and hopefully we'll see some more progress on that. I know the feedback for Warstock Road and the resurfacing of that was very good, and there is a massive improvement when you've seen how it was before and how it is now. It is much better now.
I was amazed. I assumed. Sorry, I would assume they would just have to rip the tarmac up, rip the concrete up at great cost, but apparently it was planed off by one of the machine planers. But normally you have the teeths on there that last weeks on end, but I think they have to replace them every day because they were chipping away, obviously at the top layer of concrete. So it was overall it was definitely a wise investment. So I was happy to see how that progressed. So yeah, that's good to see.
Absolutely. Does anyone have any questions or comments they'd like to ask at all? No? Okay. I think everyone's happy. So as I say, I think we'll leave it there, Stuart. And as I say, thank you again for coming. It's always appreciated that you could take the time to come along to these meetings. So we'll move on to the next topic on the agenda, local issues. So obviously this is a chance for people to raise any issues or discuss any matters that they want to bring to the attention of the meeting. I would just like to take a moment to discuss, I believe Kay has put this in the agenda, but I would like to discuss the mobile household waste centre, which is coming to Highters Heath Lane on the 31st of January from 7 o'clock in the morning to midday. It is roughly opposite the entrance, the turn into Glenavon Road. I'm told that there is also a competition that you can enter where you can win either a 22 garden waste subscription or a family day ticket to Birmingham Wildlife Conservation Park. And all you need to do is fill in the feedback form by going to birmingham.gov.uk/waste survey. So anyone who uses the services that those trucks have to offer might want to take use of that survey. As I say, there might be something to win from that. In terms of the stuff you can bring household rubbish, recycling, bulky items that could be used or reused by charities. So any items that can be used by or reused by charities. Whereas they can take bulky items, they can't take building materials, white goods and larger items such as garage or patio doors. And obviously hazardous materials like asbestos and oil also can't be taken. Does anyone have any questions about that at all? I know some people have come to me with the occasional query about it, but as I say, it's there for one day only for people to use. And obviously I'll try and get the council to come back again. They've been a few times already. They've been to Highters Heath Lane before. They came at the very top. They've done Slaypool Farm Road and Westcroft Way as well. And I know some people have suggested other locations which I've passed on as well. So yeah, as I say, it's there for people to use. So use it if you wish. Does anyone have any items that they would like to raise? Any local issues that they'd like to discuss or raise at all? Ken, go ahead. Ken, you're on mute.
Sorry, I keep on forgetting these funny new things. Firstly, I've been asked to mention to you that there is a big bag of what looks like builder's sand or rubbish or something that's been sitting by the entrance to Daisy Farm Park on Highters Heath Lane. You know, the little alleyway down. Yeah. Apparently it's been there for quite some time, and I've had one or two people mention it to me. Could I mention it to you if I was coming on this meeting?
Yeah.
The other thing I was just The other thing I was just going to say was, if anybody's got any queries about Warstock Community Centre, that's part of the reason I came on the meeting. because I'm chairman of Warstock Community Centre. So if anybody's got any queries, fire away.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to raise with Ken while he's here, and happy to have any questions? No, I don't think anyone has any questions this time, Ken. But
Good, that means there's no problems. Hopefully.
But as I say, if anyone wants to get involved with the centre, I'll certainly pass them in your direction. So, as I say, that's all I have to discuss on that item of the agenda. I see Debbie's back. Do you have any further updates to give us, Debbie?
Yeah, I've just had a look at the list that we've got. We did already plant in Selly Oak Park earlier. We managed to get those in. We've also got Dorbury Fields Park that we're going to be planting in, and Kings Heath Park as well. We're going to do a community planting. I think that's going to be a weekend planting. Balsall Heath POS is a tiny site, but we're going to put some trees onto it. And we are actually planting our 100,000th tree of the project in Cannon Hill Park at the end of March as well. And I think that's probably the closest sites. Those are the sort of Selly Oak and Hall Green sites that we've got at the moment. And as I say, unfortunately, we still haven't received our delivery of whips yet. So we're waiting for that. We've bated breath that they're going to tell us that they're going to be here. As soon as we have got the whips delivered, we will promote the tree plantings anyway, and we'll, on our website, we always do a blog as well. So after we've done a tree planting, you can see what we've done, and we'll put the dates on for the tree plantings that we will be doing, so you can see what we're going to do on the website as well. And comes up quite easily if you type in Birmingham Trees for Life. The website will return on that, and you can find out more about what we're doing there. Hope that helps a bit.
Yeah, that's very helpful. Does anyone have any further questions they'd like to ask Debbie at all? No, I think everyone's happy, Debbie. Well, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Much appreciated. And that actually brings us to the end of the meeting. Actually, as I say, we've managed
Adam,
to. Yes.
Sorry, can I just mention my Hedgehog Rescue?
Of course you can. Yes, of course you can. Go ahead.
So yeah, thanks. So I live on Highters Heath Lane, opposite the Severn Trent site. I set up a Hedgehog Rescue at the end of 2019. We're called Array for Hogs. We've got a collection bucket up at Sainsbury's at the Maypole, and I'm a registered carer with the British Hedgehog Preservation Society, and I have I'm on all of the social media kind of stuff. But I think Ken, if you said that you're the chairman of Warstock Community Centre, I just kind of wanted to let you know I'm here. If you never know when you're going to come across a hedgehog that needs rescuing. So it was kind of just trying to lift my profile a little bit, really, just to try and let people know that I'm here. I think the first year I took in 120. Last year we had about 80 through, and I've had one through this year so far, which we called Snowdrop. I've got 5 in the shed currently that have come through the winter with me, and once those ground frosts are finished and I'm a bit more trusting of the weather, we'll arrange to get them back. We either release to free roaming gardens where I know that there will be food available. So although there's a risk, obviously the hedgehog's going to eat the dinner and leg it, which they do quite often, sometimes they will stay around. So I do always make sure that they go to either where they've been found if they're in a garden, or we have released a couple down the Dingles, some big sort of big bruisers, if I can call them that, big male hedgehogs that just needed to sort of go and do their hedgehog thing. So depending on how it is, what sort of hedgehog it is, then we arrange the sites to release them. So I just kind of wanted to let you guys know I'm here. That was the main thing. And I think the other thing I wanted to say is a thank you to Adam. Now, the newsletter popped through the door today, and I said to my other half that, you know, this guy is awesome because he gets stuff done. So I want to put it on record to say a massive thank you to you.
Well, that's very kind. Try not to make me blush too much in a public
No, but
meeting,
you promised to
that's
do
very kind of
stuff,
you.
and you get it done. And I think we're very lucky to have you in this ward. So long may you stay with us.
Thank you. That's very kind. I will add that Sharon definitely isn't a plant or anything like that.
No, I've been promising Kay I'm going to turn up for like 6 months. I'm hoping she's happy that I finally made it.
Yes, I know you
Yes,
were
very
very
happy.
keen. I know you have been very keen to attend meetings, and as I say, it's unfortunate that obviously you haven't been able to attend until now. Hopefully,
New Year's resolution.
hopefully for future meetings we can actually have them in person again, because we had a very high turnout of people who actually turn up to physical meetings, and as I say, it's never quite the same with virtual meetings. Obviously, for the time being, there's no option other than to do it virtually, but I'm very hopeful that the council will allow physical public ward forums again in due course, just because the engagement that we get is so much better, and the turnout is so much higher. But in the meantime, it's very good to have anyone turn up, and I'm grateful for all those who've turned up tonight. And I think that brings us to the end of the agenda for the meeting. So
could I just reply to Sharon?
Yes, of course.
If you got a sort of A4 size poster giving details of your hedgehog rescue?
Yes, I have.
Right. If you could email it to me.
Yeah.
I'll tell you my email in a moment. It's Ken, Ken.
Yeah.
Dot. Full stop. Axford, AXFORD.
Yeah.
At hotmail.co.uk.
Yeah.
If you could email that to me, if it's A4 size, what I will do is print it off and put it up on the notice board in the community centre.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
I can't say put anything up if it's bigger than A4, because if I start putting up really big posters, everybody else complains, why haven't I put up theirs? And we don't have any notice board left.
I think we've definitely got an A4 one because it's up at Sainsbury's at the Maypole.
Well, if it explains what it is and what it does, which is really the main thing, so that if people find hedgehogs, they know who to contact.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry to jump in, Adam.
No, that's fine. That's fine. As I say, unless if anyone has anything else they would like to raise, I will draw the meeting to a close.
Great. Thank you. Nice to see you all.
Always a pleasure. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. Thanks. Good night.
See you soon. Good night.